I set up my free zone company in Dubai, UAE in May 2023. And it was such a complicated process, and there's a lot of research I did. It would be worth doing a quick episode on the process, because I'm sure there's lots of people, particularly from the UK, United States, Australia, and a few other places around the world, where they're not really sure of the process, and it can get really confusing when you start searching online. So the first thing that struck me was when I was searching how to do this, you just get tons and tons of companies that are offering business setup services for free zones in Dubai. And there's over 40 free zones to choose from in the UAE, with 20 of them alone, or might be more than 20 just in Dubai. So there are some that specialize in certain industries, and the cost, depending on where you're looking, can really range from anywhere from around like 3,000 dirhams all the way to, 100,000 I've even seen as a setup fee, with lots in the middle about 50,000, which is around, it's around 10,000 pounds. I don't know, what's that, about 13,000 US dollars approximately. And that's just a lot of money to set up a company. And there are tons and tons of agencies that are out there offering these services. And I actually was searching for ages, and I come across the free zone that I ended up incorporating the company with, like setting up the free zone company with directly. I come across them weeks before I realized they were the actual authority who you have to set up the free zone with. I just thought they were just another one of the many companies that are out there who are offering these setup services. So do you need to use an agent in Dubai? Well, I didn't. If you listen to the video about a year ago, I did mention about one of these setup companies where they help people like you set up your businesses in Dubai or anywhere, in the UAE full stop, as a free zone, and they charge you a fee for that. But I wanted to go direct with the authority, just because I was seeing this crazy range of prices, and I'm just like, well, clearly there's either some of you that are just scamming people and taking money, which is just a scam where it's really low, or there's some of you where you're just charging extremely high service fees for the introduction. And so I just thought, you know what, let me try and find the authority. So that's what I did. Now, how do you choose which free zone to open up your company with, first of all? So that was one of the issues. There are lots of free zones. I mentioned there's like over 40 in the UAE, and some of them specialize in individual things. And some of these websites that you land on, where I've mentioned about these agents, they may appear like they are the actual free zone company, the free zone sort of, authority in themselves, but they're not. But they will lead you to believe they are. And there were tons of them that I saw with an absolute ton of reviews, which just looked like spam to me. Really fantastic reviews with like probably the real ones in the middle, which were absolutely horrendous. But anyway, I found the free zone that I'm registered with, like I mentioned, weeks before. Didn't realize they're the official body. And I literally must have done 15 to 20 hours of research, just working out which free zone to pursue, and avoided the agents that have those, really shady looking reviews. So I started seeing like you get one really bad comment, and then within a couple of days, there's suddenly like 50 really positive ones. And it's just like, probably not real. But in any case, there are some things that you need to pay attention to, things to note. And one of the first things I'd say is being careful of the hidden fees. That wasn't an issue in my case, but I've seen lots of reviews. Like I said, I did delve into this, where agents don't tell you about a number of the fees that you're going to have to pay along the line. And one of the things that I discovered when I set up with the free zone that I ended up setting up with is that free zone anyway, if you set up for an agent, in the future, if you have any issues around the fees or anything like that, you have to go through the agent. You can't go direct to the free zone. Yeah, I'm sure it's just some agreement that they've got between the agents that pass those deals to them. So if you go with an agent, you cannot contact the free zones directly, or at least the one that I'm with. And that's if you have any issues or concerns, you need to go through your agent, and they may that sense, certainly with the free zone that I'm with. Now, there are lots of business categories, and that was one of the most confusing things. They seem to be really, really strict and specific about what you can and cannot do. You cannot sell within the UAE outside of your free zone, and there's also potentially issues over this new 9% corporation tax if you do sell inside of your free zone or anywhere in the UAE potentially. So that's not completely clear right now. I will come back to that at another point. Once I finally got that ironed out, the corporation tax is not 0% anymore for businesses in Dubai or the UAE, full stop. You can see the video that I did a year ago, which I'll link to, but it may still be free. Okay, there's a caveat to that. It may still be free, but I want to make sure I've got 100% accurate information before I start putting it out to you and you start making plans on that. But don't make plans based on anything that I say anyway. If you want to close it down, you'll have to pay quite a substantial sum of money. Potentially, it might be like £1,000. It could be more to close down the company. And some free zones allow you to do the company setup process from abroad, as mine did. Others require you actually to be present in the country for you to be able to set it up. Now, if you don't have an office space, there's lots of free zones that I've seen where they require you to have an office space. So you must lease an office space, even if you don't need it. Like lots of businesses like mine are online, they don't need an office space. And even if you don't need it, they require you to have a lease. And actually, the way that mine was pitched is that you don't require to have a lease. And actually, when I did set it up, I did get a lease agreement with it, but I've not paid for extra for that. So it just seems to be that something that they've just done to get past whatever the rules are with the government. So what are the costs? With the exchange rate at the time, I paid around £3,700, and that included my establishment card that allows the new company that I have out in Dubai to sponsor foreign workers, including myself. Yes, it had to sponsor me, which if you compare the cost of setting up to the UK, I mean, they're not comparable. The UK is £13. Yes, £13 to set up a company in the UK versus $3,700 to set it up in Dubai as a free zone. And then you're really limited on what you can do. In the UK, if you set up your company at £13, you pretty much do what you want with it. In the United States, similar thing. I think theirs is like $150 or something like that to set it up, which is still a massive difference from, £3,700. Let's say it's about $5,000 US. It's a humongous sum of money. And that's not a one-time payment either, people. That is something that you are going to pay on an annual basis. So the way I'm seeing that in my head and justifying that is it's basically like a tax. That's how I'm seeing it, even though it's not a tax. I'm seeing it as a tax, and I'm seeing it as a tax that if that company was in the UK and I remained resident in the UK, £10,000 profit, I would have paid about that much. So if I make more than about £10,000, probably a little bit more than that. If I make more than about £10,000 profit, then I'm better off with this company set up in Dubai. So the application process, how was it? First of all, you've got to select your business category. And I mentioned it earlier, it's a bit complicated and they are really restrictive. So with the free zone that I set up with, it's free of them. So 3 are included within the fee, but you can choose up to 6 different business categories on your license. Now, some of you who operate businesses in the UK will be saying, yes, but we have SIC codes, SIC codes in the UK. And yes, we do, but it's a very different thing. You can have an SIC code right now. You can set up business selling microphones today, and tomorrow in that same business, you could start selling sandwiches if you chose to. In the UAE, it's not like that. They're very restrictive on what you can do. So there are non-regulated and regulated categories. Regulated categories probably isn't for the vast majority of you. I had a look through some of them. Most of these entrepreneurs that will be listening to this are going to be interested in, and they require specific approval from the government and special licenses, which I don't know anything about at all. So you're in the wrong place if you are looking for a regulated business. But if it's not a regulated company, that's the vast majority of the options on there. There are things like, professional licenses for consulting, commercial trading licenses for import and export. And if you have categories in both professional and commercial, in my free zone anyway, you can combine them for an extra fee rather than having to set up a completely separate free zone company. Some categories require a degree, which is bizarre. Okay, well, it's not that bizarre. It's not bizarre if you're a vet. Yes, if you're going to set up a veterinary practice and you're going to be the vet, then yes, absolutely. I understand why you would need a degree. However, what I do not understand is if you're a search engine optimization company, why you would need a degree, but you do. Business management degree. Bizarre. I have no idea why, but that is a requirement. So there are some odd things out there which you can see if you're looking on YouTube, but it's one of those things where you just have to abide by their rules. That's their rules. You want to, benefit from the potentially a nicer lifestyle depending where you live, and, much lower taxes, then you've got to abide by the rules, and quite rightly too. So the application form. So my free zone, I thought the application form was really straightforward. And this is one of the reasons why once I realized who they were, I don't know why I said that so loud, like I was singing. Yeah, once I realized who they were and was able to get in contact with them directly, and it was like using live chat, by the way. I'll speak about that later, but it wasn't that difficult than the rest of the process. So I'll be honest, guys, and I'm sorry if you are an agent or one of these brokers or whatever, but from my experience, honestly, I couldn't justify having one now. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, the online form was pretty straightforward. You can choose it with or without a residency visa. Now, I didn't really pay much attention to this at the start, but it is quite an important decision to make. With the residency visa, what that allows you to do, it allows you to sponsor yourself. Basically, that gives you the establishment card so that you can then sponsor yourself to go and live in Dubai or UAE for up to 2 years at a time. It used to be 3 years, it's now 2 years on your visa. I decided to do with the visa option. You have to pay an extra fee of about £500. That's for about $750, something like that. I don't really know the exchange rate to dollars in the UK at the moment. It's been going up and down, but it's around there somewhere. And the additional cost of allowing the visa plus the visa cost. Okay, the application form. Personally, I thought it was pretty straightforward. And after I actually finally found out who the authority was so that I could go directly with them, and that was super simple, by the way, and it was, the communication was fantastic. The process was pretty slick going forward. I honestly, having done this now, and I'm sorry if you are in the business of brokering or setting up these companies for people, but if you are being set up with the free zone that I'm with and using a broker and paying a load more money for it, personally, I honestly don't see the point. I don't know what you would have possibly gained from it other than saving yourself probably about an hour of your time to set it up, to complete all the form, and you get the Emirates ID and you can do everything there basically. But I'll do a video on that when I get round doing the visa, just so that you know what the process is. So you can choose to get more than a year and get a discount. Now, normally, I'm I'm the person who will sign up to a year. When there's a 12-month plan, it'll do 12 months for the price of 10 or whatever. I will normally do that because I just don't like paying extra money when I don't have to. But in this case, I had come across a video, and I'm going to try and find it because I feel like I probably should, shout her out a bit. It's a British entrepreneur, and okay, so I went and found the video. So I'm going to put the link in the show notes, and it's a British entrepreneur. Her name is Mabel Goulden. Hopefully I've said that right. And she had a bit of an experience with one of these companies. She set up her free zone company initially and paid for a number of years to get that discount. And then I can't remember exactly, it's a bit since I watched the video. It was a video from last year, from 2022. She had some issues with them and needed to set up with someone else. And basically it was just a waste of money. So I just thought, let me just err on the side of caution. And yes, even though I plan on business succeeding, of course, I wouldn't want to dump in 5 years worth of money when ultimately it might fail. And then I lost all that money. So anyway, I decided on the 1 year. So the most confusing part was the share allocation, which is just your liability. So similar in the UK with a limited liability company or an LLC in the United States or various places around the world, you are limited by your share capital that you have. Now, the minimum share capital that they'll have for the free zone, for at least my free zone company, I don't know about the others, is 10,000 AED, 10,000 dirhams, which is what? £2,000, £2,250, something like that. Yeah, so 10,000 dirhams it's a minimum of about £2,200 or $2,700, but the recommended minimum is 48,000 dirhams, which is about £10,000 or about 12.5, 13,000 US. And that's if you need to have a partner or investor residence visa. Otherwise, you cannot have it. You can only be classed as like a general manager or some other title in the business. And funnily enough, I might as well mention it, managing director. If you want the title of managing director, which is normal in the UK, anyone setting up a business, become managing director. If you want that title, then you have to have a business degree, or there was like a certain number of years in a internationally recognized corporation, as in like a big corporation. Bizarre. But again, this is just how it is. But if you want the investor or the residence visa, there is no difference with it to the other visa, but you have to pay extra for it. So anyway, that's the application form. Honestly, it was straightforward. The most confusing part was the share allocation. You're not used to what that means. And by the way, if you're wondering, do you have to actually put that money into the bank? No, you only need to put that money into the bank if you want your share certificate. Yeah, that's right. So if you want your share certificate for them to print that out and actually say, look, these are the shares that you own, you need to have put that money into the bank, and the bank will issue you a statement to say, yes, they've deposited this money, and then they will issue your share certificate. So you'd need that if you're going to do something like selling the business. So something else that I just thought, it's not, basically I write notes here, it's not in my notes right now, but one of the questions that would probably come up around limited liability, is a free zone company a limited liability company? Now, I searched for that for ages, and to be honest with you, I couldn't find a real answer. But it was when I dealt with this free zone, and the guy Switty, who I dealt with, he's been incredible. He's so helpful. He pointed me to some information, and basically, long and short of it is, yes, it is. You're limited to your share capital. So for example, if you end up getting, similar to the UK, if you end up getting sued for a shit ton of money because you fucked up, you're limited to whatever you put your share capital as your personal liability in the business. So whether that's 10,000 dirhams or 48,000 dirhams or whatever you put, that's what you're limited to. So the minimum is 10,000. They recommend a minimum of 48,000 if you want an investor/partner's residence visa. Now, the payment, how does that work? So I'll be honest with you, I was still a bit nervous at that time about, I completed these forms, and the thing that made me nervous was that some of these free zones, in fact, pretty much all of them that I've seen, their website addresses, they're not official government website addresses, not like gov.ae or anything like that. It's kind of, the trust factor is not quite there. And I was still thinking at this point, am I being scammed? Is this the point where I send my money and I will never hear from Switty or his friends again, who've been helping me out on my application? And I was a bit nervous about sending the money, I'll be honest about that. And so I just thought, yeah, they give you the option to pay by credit card with a fee, which is about 2% extra to cover their processing costs. I didn't use a credit card, although I was thinking at one point, maybe I should, because it would be like a fairly easy way to get my money back if I needed to. But there's two reasons why I didn't want to use a credit card. The main one being, you pay for it, you got to pay in dirhams, right? And where did I go? United States. I paid for something in dollars, and I had an extortionate fee. Not only was the conversion rate terrible on my credit card, they put an extortionate fee on top of the transaction as well, just for the fact that it was a foreign transaction. So I was like, I'm not doing that. Plus then also paying the 2% for them. So I thought, I'm not going to do that. So I use Wise, and this is not an advert for Wise, by the way. Wise do not sponsor me and my 126 followers or whatever I've got. Wise I've used for a long time. I've used it for paying my virtual assistants abroad, which is what this company is for. This company I've set up in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai is a virtual assistant company, and that's what I've set up there. Now, I use Wise to transfer the money because, one, you get the best conversion rates out there. I've used it for a long time to pay my staff. I know it goes really quickly. So I paid my staff like in the Philippines, and it goes super quick. They get it usually within half an hour. If not, it's there the next day. So I knew it was going to get there. I paid on Friday, the 5th of May, in the afternoon UK time. They don't work weekends at the free zone. They just like, nope, no work. It's fine. So I paid on the Friday afternoon UK time, which was already the evening their time. So they probably didn't pick that up till Monday. I emailed the proof of payment, which is all they wanted. They didn't want to verify the payment had actually arrived before they move on to the next part of the process. And they started work on it on Monday, the 7th of May. It only took a few days, thankfully. It didn't take very long. So if you're thinking, how long did it take to get set up? Was it weeks? Was it months? No, it wasn't. My free zone company was set up and all the documents sent to me on Thursday, the 11th of May in the morning. And the establishment card was sent to me a few days later. And like I mentioned earlier, the establishment card, again, it's something I didn't know what it was, so I had to research it and find out. And I was thinking, he must have paid me. I asked him so many questions, but it's there so you can sponsor people to come into the UAE through the business. So what documents do you get? Now, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to show these. Some bits might be blurred out if I don't want you to know certain bits of information about me, but they're going to be showed. So if you're listening on the podcast, pop over to YouTube, the link's in the show notes anyway, so you can do that. But what documents do you get? So I've got them all saved in case I ever get asked to produce it. So I put it into my phone, I put it onto my laptop and in my cloud, just in case. I don't know why, I've got this freakish feeling that something bad's going to happen and they're going to be like, where's your documents? Or you're going to go to prison forever. But you get a certificate of formation, which is incorporation from the government. You get a trade license, which shows the business categories that I mentioned earlier that you are allowed to trade in. You get a memorandum of association, which is same as the UK. It shows the share capital and if you are, how the company will operate. It's just the bog standard version. You get a unit lease agreement. As I mentioned earlier, with this free zone, you don't need to actually take a new lease, have to pay for it for an office or anything like that. They just include a unit lease agreement, which I think covers the UAE law. I don't actually have an office. It's a registered office effectively, but I can get offices there and they're really cheap, surprisingly, like compared to the price of housing there. But anyway, that's another story. And the establishment card that allows you to sponsor, employ foreign workers. So all of those things, apart from memorandum of association, I didn't know what any of them were. And I had to ask Switty to tell me what all of those things meant and why the numbers are different on the certificate of formation and trade license. Again, I thought, are they ripping me off? Are they conning me with something? Because the numbers don't match up. It's really strange. I don't understand, but he just says it's literally always like that. So I've just had to take it. That is the case. The share certificate, I've already touched on. You cannot get a share certificate until you've opened up the bank account and deposited at least the share capital of, in my case, 48,000 AED. I think I put down 50,000. And then the bank has got to provide proof to the free zone, basically, that you have deposited that money, and then they'll issue a certificate to you. So how to open up a bank account in Dubai? Oh my God. So I haven't quite done it yet. There's a few things. You actually can't open up the bank account for the business. As far as I'm aware, you cannot do that without the Emirates ID. So this was where the potential problem was if you chose not to get a residency visa, because you might have chose that option not to early on, then realize you can't open up a bank account without getting your residency visa, and then you'd have to pay another £500 as a fee, an admin fee, plus the cost of the residency visa. That's why I specifically mentioned it, because of this issue. This is where there seems to be masses of problems. Like, you need Emirati ID and the visa, and you need to be in the country to apply for the account, which is strange because the UAE, they seem so advanced in everything. Like, technology is just, everything is led by technology there, it looks anyway. But then they've got proper old school crappy banking, old school sort of like 1990s banking, like in the UK. And I'm really not looking forward to it. Literally, the best banks that I could find so far, recommended by several UK business owners that I've spoken to on Facebook group, Brits in Dubai. And the best one that has been recommended the most so far is NDB Bank. Now, guess what their star rating is on Trustpilot? It's a massive 1.3 stars. I've never seen that in my life, not for a major company. And the highest rating for banks so far that I found are 1.7 stars. So clearly there's a disconnect, because the vast majority of people in Dubai particularly are foreigners. I think it's like 85-90% are foreigners. I would be one, obviously, a foreigner. And they've got some like crappy banking way of doing banking. You can literally open up a bank account now on your phone here, like with no problem. I say no problem unless it's a business bank, then you can have a problem opening it, which I have done in the past, even with the challenger banks. But anyway, it seemed like that's going to be a challenge. And so I'm not really looking forward to that, but I'd have to get the visa, I'd have to get the residency sorted out to be able to even open up a bank account there, which is really annoying, but it's going to have to be done if I want a bank account there. So what about the visas and residency status? I'm losing my voice, so I have to wrap this up. I'm going to do another video about these, okay? Once my visa is issued, I think I'm going to do a video about it. If you're a UK resident now and you get the residence visa in Dubai or anywhere in the UAE, just bear in mind that alone does not automatically mean you're going to pay 0% income tax. In fact, not only does it not automatically mean that, it's so far from it. The rules are really complex. There is a double tax treaty, which is complex, and I've even got my accountant doing some homework for it. So once he's come back to me on that, I'm also going to be speaking to an accountant in Dubai at some point. And the fees, they differ massively depending on if you're inside the UAE or outside the UAE when you apply. Interestingly, it's actually more when you're inside the UAE to apply for a visa than when you're outside the UAE. I think because there's some admin fees around changing the visa that you're currently with, like in there with, whatever it is, a tourist visa, whatever you've got. Yeah, I will do another video on that, just because I think that on its own is going to be a really long topic, a really long process, and I haven't been through it yet, so I don't know. Now, to wrap this up, look, personally, I'm really glad. I'm really glad that I took the time to do the research and find the direct free zone authority to go directly with, rather than using a broker. If only for the fact I can go directly to the free zone if I have issues with them or the payments or anything like that. They're accountable to me for the payments and all the costs and stuff that they've already sent to me. Some of these agents operating out there, they know, certainly with my free zone, which actually gets recommended a lot by them, okay? So I've gone to a number of brokers as well, spoken to them, and they've recommended the free zone that I'm with. It gets recommended a lot, but your hands are tied with them if you need any changes to be done, or if they come up with some random fees that you have to pay, admin fees that they make up, they can charge you, that they may not have told you about, for anything to get done. The other thing is there's literally so many bad reviews among literally hundreds and hundreds of what look like fake Google reviews, where they seem to take the money and then the people are waiting months to get their company set up, their free zone company set up, which is crazy. It literally took me I can't remember the dates that I put down here. It literally took 5 days from the point that they picked up my application and proof of payment for them to have it set up and all the documents sent to me. That was me going directly. Honestly, I just don't see the point in using a broker or an agent. I don't even know what they're called. I don't know what you'd call them. What would you call them? If you let me know, write them in the notes, because I don't know what they're called, but I'm calling it a broker, I'm calling it an agent, whatever they are. And they're potentially hidden fees. And then there's just loads of reviews about complete fraud where they've taken the money and never heard back from them again. And they've not been able to reclaim their money. Yeah, I'm so glad I took the time to go directly with the free zone. Who knows, maybe I'll go out there and I'll realize actually I've been scammed all along and they're all fake documents and I go to jail and you never hear from me again. Who knows? But the free zone that I'm with, honestly, it's not the cheapest, but it's also nowhere near the most expensive by a long way. You get a lot of freedom with it. The pros, you can also set it up when you're not in the country, which is a big thing for people like myself, who I don't want to have to fly to Dubai just to set up the company when it's maybe not the convenient time for me to go. I've got it set up while I'm still in the UK. The free zone, really helpful. So the account manager assigned to me, a guy called Switty, he was so helpful answering my questions. He honestly, sometimes it was like live chat. Send him an email, bang, I get an email back within a few minutes. I'm like, hold on, guy, you're too quick. Oh, you're a bot. But he's so knowledgeable and really helpful. I never spoke to the guy once on the phone, on a conference call or anything. It's all been through WhatsApp, or WhatsApp and email. But yeah, really helpful. Couldn't recommend them enough. And if you do want to speak to him directly, let me know. I'll put you in direct contact with him because he was so helpful to me and he said that I can pass people over to him. So the process for me was really swift. It's me who held up the visa stage. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to go for the visa or not at a point, but I held that up. I've now got the e-visa issued. I'll mention about that another time. And I'll be going to Dubai in June 23 for 3 weeks, just to check it out, see if I like it, and see if I want to go and get my full visa issued. And if you do want to set up your company, like I said, get in touch with me in the link in the show notes with your name and your email, and I'll connect you directly with Switty. It's so helpful to me. I can't recommend him enough. I've not spoken to anyone else from the Free Zone apart from the people who helped with the visas and stuff afterwards. But as the initial sort of point of contact, yeah, definitely I'd highly recommend him and the Free Zone that I've been with. So anyway, I'm Aaron, and I will definitely share some footage of being in Dubai. Look out for that. I'll probably put it on my Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, go to Aaron Henry on Instagram. Links in the show notes. Bye.